Good morning, everyone here at Scully and through our webcast. Good morning, everyone. Wave to us from the webcast. Do you hear us? They do. Very good. I want to welcome everybody here today to our Common Core workshop. I want to just let people know how hard our districts have been working here in Sacramento to get prepared. We're very proud of the work that's going into it from all of our 13 districts, most of whom are here today and will be here this afternoon as we really dig down into how the Common Core meets the local control accountability plans. So we're very privileged today to have a workshop which is sponsored by a grant from the Gates Foundation, which is prepared by the PACE organization in collaboration with our County Superintendent Association, CCSS. The program was put together collaboratively with a number of our school districts, and you'll be hearing from them as well as from Sue Stickel, our Deputy Superintendent. So with that, once again, welcome, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. David Plank from PACE, who is one of the sponsors along with Gates and CCSS of the workshop. So Dr. Plank.
Thanks very much, Dave, and thanks to all of you for coming out this morning. I have a couple of things I'd like to do this morning. One is just to say thank you to Dave Gordon, Sue Stickel, to our partners at CCSS, at the California Teachers Association. Thanks to the Gates Foundation for funding this meeting, and there will be a series of these meetings in other regions of California. We're going to do 6 over the course of the next 6 weeks or so. And our partners at Pivot Learning Partners, who have drafted a strategy guide, which is one of the tools and resources that we'll be talking about later this morning. And the second thing I want to do is just to remind all of us that 2007 wasn't that great. That as we think now about the new resources that are coming into the education system, we think, well, gosh, can we get back to that high water mark of 2007? 2007 was a lousy year if you were living in 2007. And so I think the way we should think about Common Core and about the new flexibility that the state board has given to local school districts is not how do we get back to what we had, because what we had wasn't that good. How do we use this to move forward to a system that really takes advantage of this new flexibility, that takes advantage of the opportunity that Common Core represents to really move forward for our schools and for our kids. And so this meeting is intended to support that effort, and really the goal of the meeting, the primary goal of the meeting, is to talk about the experiences of some districts in Sacramento County that have taken a very aggressive posture in implementing Common Core, but also, and I think primarily, to introduce you to some of the tools and resources that are available to you as you seek to overcome the challenges that Common Core represents. And I would note too, especially, CCSS and with a major contribution from the Sacramento County Office of Education has produced a leadership guide, which many of you have probably already seen, but which provides some really useful insights on how to implement Common Core. PACE has produced, with Pivot Learning Partners, has produced a strategy guide which introduces sort of a way of thinking systematically about the challenges that implementation presents. And we have Monica Liu here from the Gates Foundation, who will talk about some of the work that the foundation has done, both to develop messages for communicating about Common Core to various audiences, but also what they call a taxonomy of technical assistance, which is that all of us will need help with Common Core, and one of the challenges we face is how to figure out what kinds of help we need and what are good and reliable sources of help, technical assistance, for the work that needs to be done so that we can do that work successfully. With that, I want to thank you again for coming, and I will introduce a friend of mine and a friend of all of ours on video who will add a welcome to mine.
Good day. My name is Mike Kirst. I'm the president of the California State Board of Education and Professor Emeritus of Education at Stanford University. Thank you for taking your time to come to this important meeting. The top priority of the state government at this point, in my view, in education policy is the implementation of Common Core. It is necessary and a major change for all our schools. Moreover, it changes so many state education policies and local implementation and local policies. It's a set of standards on what students should know and be able to do, but as you know, it changes assessments, curriculum, professional development, special education, professional teacher training, many other things. So it is a big challenge and will require a lot of integrated, coherent policy making on your part. The key, of course, is the changes in the classroom, in profound changes in classroom instruction. That really is your job. We cannot do much with the state except assist you in every way possible that you want us to, or we can do with our resources. It will take a long time to implement Common Core. It's not going to be done overnight. We realize that. Therefore, there's a phase-in period that will be implemented over the next 2 to 3 years. But really, I see the full implementation of Common Core as something that will take place really in more like 5 years than 1 or 2 years. So we're aware of the issues and challenges that you face, and we will be trying to adjust state policies, and already have, to assist you in this transition. Moreover, the Common Core is part of an integrated package of state reforms, including the local control funding formula and other policies. The local control funding formula will give you more flexibility and more money over time to implement the Common Core. And moreover, we will be giving you, I think, the flexibility to spend money some centrally on issues like professional development, which cannot be done exclusively at the school site. So we will be helping you in that, but the ball is in your court in terms of really implementing it. Pay attention to the local control accountability plan. That needs to be implemented and integrated with the Common Core. Part of our state design is to tie the allocation of budget resources to outcomes that the state wants, and one of those key outcomes is the implementation of Common Core, and then better pupil performance based on Common Core instruction. So you need to think of Common Core as part of a related set of state initiatives which reinforce and are aligned and are consistent with our priority on Common Core. The state can help you in ways that I think are important. We're trying to provide a more leadership in bringing in ideas and resources from out of California. For example, to evaluate the various curriculum and technology programs that are out there for Common Core. The state will be mounting through a foundation, independent foundation. The state will assist the foundation in communication program that will unveil itself in the next few months. This is a $1.5 million communications program aimed at educators with the idea that the educators are the best way to reach parents. So we're going to be making parents more clear and more aware of the Common Core as best we can at the state level, but your job at the local level on communication of what the changes are in Common Core is even more vital than whatever we can do. So it's a long path from state policy to classroom instructional change. The bulk of that is local responsibility, local initiative, and local implementation. We realize that. We applaud your efforts. We appreciate the support we're getting from the bottom up on Common Core from teachers and parents and administrators and school board members. Basically, California is viewed as a leader in Common Core, and other states are watching how we do with this as we push forward without the kind of pushback that's happened in depth in other states. So I wish you well in these endeavors, and I know your program will be interesting and exciting and help you think about this in more fundamental ways. We're here at the state to think about your problems, and you need to tell us what you're experiencing. And we look forward to working with you over many years to implement the Common Core. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so now it's my pleasure to introduce Sue Stickel, who is going to present some data on the progress of implementation in Sacramento and some of the neighboring counties.
So while we can see that everybody's kind of busy running around and everything. So while Melinda's queuing up the PowerPoint, I just want to also welcome you. Thank you for being here today, and give you a couple of cautions. Caution number one, there's a microphone on that brown thing back there. It is extremely sensitive. So if you're sitting back there, you would not want to say something like, boy, who knew that they would wear that kind of tie today? Tacky. Because it will pick you up, okay? So be very careful. And then if you need to step out at the times besides the breaks, we would ask that you step not to go through that door, because Melinda will throw herself across in front of you. Instead, what we ask you to do is to exit and enter back through the side door over there. And the reason is because it interferes with the production. So thank you for those two things. One's a protection for you. The other is a protection for us. And so welcome to all of our counties that are in other places in regions 1, 2, and 3 today. We're glad you're with us. And so our job today is to kind of ground us in a little bit of data. And so we're going to, so some of you in Sacramento County, and if you're from other districts and other counties, you may have remembered a phone call where you got a chance to talk with the county person, and the county person interviewed you and asked you about how things were going with the Common Core. So while you were being interviewed, we were keying in information. And so what we wanted to do today is to present that information, and we've summarized it in terms of all the folks in Region 1, all the folks in Region 2, and then all the folks in our region, Region 3. So in case you were thinking, oh my God, they're going to see that I haven't started yet. No worries. It's all grouped together. But I think there are some things that are fairly predictable when it comes to looking at the data, but there's also some things that were kind of ahas for me too. And it showed me that, yes, in a not surprising way, as President Kirst said, we have a lot of work in front of us and a lot of things that we need to get done. But, you know, that's what we do, we work hard. So the survey itself purpose was to gather information about school districts' implementation of the Common Core. And the state board had asked the counties to do this through CCSS at a July presentation at their board meeting. They wanted some hard number data about where districts were in terms of implementing the Common Core. But the other reason, very selfishly, is yes, we wanted to gather this for the state board, but it's also good information for county offices of education to have in terms of where their districts are in implementing the Common Core. So in a most remarkable way, we had an 80% completion rate of the survey. It just shows you if you keep calling someone on the phone, they find it hard to ignore you after a while. But we do thank the district for responding. But all but 2 counties are represented in this data. And then 20 counties, Sacramento included, had 100% participation rate by their districts. And what's notable is this represents 83% of the student population. And so this is, you can't say, well, they didn't really touch on everybody. Pretty much we did, and so that was a good thing. You can see completion rates by region on the slide. And Region 3 had a 91% completion. Region 2, 76%. In fact, some of my colleagues were saying things like, can't you leave the survey open one more day? I have one more district and I'm gonna go camp out in front of their office until they answer the questions. So, that sort of say counties are competitive. All right, so one of the first things were about implementation plans. About half the districts have a written, separate implementation plan about the Common Core. Most of them have included the implementation plan in their LEA plan or their strategic plan. 40% of them had taken that plan to their local board. And again, you can see the data by regions 1, 2, and 3. So in terms of sequencing of the Common Core implementation, most folks, if you can see, they didn't do it just by grade or by content area or by school. Instead, they sort of focused on doing it all at once. That tends to be the pattern. If you look at Region 2, 60% of the folks, Region 3, 43% of the folks were not just saying, okay, we're going to start with the high grades and the low grades, or we're going to do math first, or we're going to start at these 7 schools. It was an all-out attack on implementing the Common Core. In terms of being a mathematician, this slide is very interesting to me. One of the big questions in math, are we going to be traditional or are we going to be integrated? You can see that some people have already selected. A third of the folks almost have selected integrated. 42% are still sitting there and they haven't decided yet. And you can see, for instance, in Region 3, a lot of folks are still waiting, trying to decide how it is they're going to approach. And so it's a good thing. And it outlines one of our great needs is to assist districts with this. Accelerated options. One of the questions when I particularly go out and meet with parents, I get the question of, but can my child still be in algebra in 8th grade? You've all had that question. And, big notable question. You can do that through a number of accelerated pathways that are outlined in the math framework, for instance. But still, folks, by and large, hadn't selected their pathway of acceleration. They're still trying to decide how it is they want to approach that. Communication. So, in this case, Common Core presentation to local boards. You can see high numbers for presenting to local boards, high numbers about the Common Core, high numbers about assessment, and then you can see that some folks had a formal communication plan. Some folks just folded it into their regular communication plan, didn't have something separate. Now here's one of the first slides where I thought, aha. And so you can see we've done a pretty good job if you look across the regions and the state with school leadership. We've done a pretty good job with school staff. But then it starts to kind of fade off a little bit. And so in terms of communication, particularly when you get down to local media and local business leaders, it drops off sharply. And so one of the things that we absolutely think about at Sacramento County is many of our detractors for the Common Core, those are the groups that they're approaching first. And so one of the things I think we need to do across the state, and I always worry about Sacramento County first and foremost, is we need to help everybody do a better job of making sure that we're communicating to everyone about the Common Core and why it's a good thing. Curriculum. So when you look at the curriculum, this question asked, and it was a similar response in mathematics, we just called out the response for English language arts. We have a lot of folks that have received training or professional development or in a PLC about the major changes in the Common Core. But if the numbers start to drop, if you notice, teachers understand the content, structure, and organization of the Common Core in each grade level. I'll tell you, for Sacramento, for instance, one of the things when I was interviewing districts that I think, you know, in retrospect, when we look at this question, of course, if you talk to high school people, they haven't done everybody. And so it sort of fades out in those areas. When you look at curriculum review, in this case, we're trying to be equal time, but it is all similar in English language arts. Mathematics standards, examination and alignment. Teachers have studied the progressions document, which is a wonderful document, and it will help you implement the Common Core if you're not familiar with it in mathematics. Teachers have created a scope and sequence. You can see that few folks have done that, and it's not, oh, bad us. We're working really hard. We haven't gotten to it yet, but we know in terms of doing our work, that's something that needs to be done out in the future. And then teacher teams have created Common Core units and lessons. Most places say that they've created some. They particularly created some to fill the gaps where with their instructional materials. That was more the pattern. I can't think of anybody we interviewed in Sacramento County where they were looking to totally develop their whole curriculum. And I think that was pretty much true across the state. But what is very evident is that folks are working very, very hard. And you know, that's the thing you need to remember about this, what this survey highlights, is that folks are working hard, they're working diligently at doing this work, but first and foremost, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I appreciated President Kirst's comments in that he said, this is a long path. This is not something we do overnight. And one of the nice things about being older, such as myself, I can remember when the standards came in 1997. Guess what? It wasn't like a light switch where people did it overnight. It occurred over time, and the same thing is going to happen with the Common Core. Professional development focused on student populations. Another big significant slide, because while we're working well on most populations, we're kind of thin in terms of content in the areas of students with disabilities and English learners across the board. Aligned assessment. This is about the stakeholder groups for which districts have discussed the major shifts in assessment. And this was, you remember, this survey was completed in September and October. I'm willing to bet these colors have changed dramatically because the assessment and the windows that are about to open are on everybody's mind. Technology. One of the things that the pilot tests kind of shone the light on last year was that students, particularly in the lower grades, struggled with their keyboarding skills. They kept trying to touch that screen. They're good with their Game Boys, they're good at touching the screen, but not so much with the keyboarding. The simple things like dragging, dropping, cutting and pasting, evidently, who knew, like handwriting is a lost art. So folks are spending more focus on that this past fall and winter. 75% of our districts expect all of their schools to assess students during the 14-15 year with computers. And I suspect that number's gone up also. And of course, you don't have a choice for this spring because everybody will be online because it's the test of the test. Here's a little bit more about technology. Districts have updated their technology plan. And then last but not least, assistance and support. By and large, we surveyed districts about how they were going to spend their Common Core dollars. Most folks were pretty equitable, we had a third, a third, a third. But we did ask them what were some of their biggest challenges, and I'm sure sitting in this audience, when you're looking at that list, you're thinking, well, duh. Time, a lot happening all at once. Funding, technology, instructional shifts, and the lack of curriculum. We have new math materials now, but we still have a ways to go in that area. So more information, the entire report can be found on the CCSS website if you wanted to read. It's very great reading. And if you have further questions, if you're from a county other than Sacramento or even Sacramento County and you want more information, please contact your CISC person or the CCSS office. And so that's the end of that slideshow. And so I think what I'm going to do now is turn it back over to David.